Hello, happy Tuesday. That means it's another episode of Off the Leash. I'm Leah Doherty, joined with Mark Schwab and OBR's Fred Greetham. How's everyone doing? Week what? Two, three? I don't even know. They all kind of run together. 3?
It's all a mess until you hit the preseason games, which they are finally coming up.
It's kind of a good sign that it feels like it's going by quick. Like we're already into week 3 of this thing.
Does that all the time, I swear.
That's
Baseball preseason and football preseason, you get about 3 days in, you blink. You're a week or two in, and all of a sudden you're at the games. Yeah.
Because you first look at the training camp schedule, and I'm like, whew, that's a lot of days. That's a lot of days to be running around in the heat. But it's actually gone by quick. Yeah, first preseason game in Chicago on Saturday. I want to start off by something that happened on Monday, though. And, Fred, you were there. Schwab and I weren't there, so you can shed a little bit more light on it. But I know the end of practice yesterday got a little sloppy, and Munkin, rightfully so, was frustrated with the offense, it sounds like.
Yeah, he's a big stickler on pre-snap penalties and jumping, and like what we criticized Kevin Stefanski for, and never seemed to get that right. And they've been working on it, cadence, all these things. Well, they did pretty good the last few days, but they were indoors yesterday, and I don't know what it was. But the last 3 plays of team, they go into like move the ball session like in the last minute, false start, jumping, 3 in a row. And he threw his... They have walkie-talkies that he calls in the plays. He threw that, and he was pretty upset, and rightly so. That's it, we're done, and they ended practice on that. And so today he talked about it, said, I might have made some poor decisions, but I like that fire in the guy. We didn't see that the last 5-6 years in Kevin. And so, he kind of has his emotions on the sleeve, but he wants to get it right. He said that's a reflection on him and the coaching staff getting that stuff right.
Yeah, we actually do have a little bit of that sound from Todd Munkin talking about what happened at the end of practice Monday. We had the chance to speak to him before practice got going today.
Yeah, not good. I got hijacked. I mean, we did such a good job on Saturday, cadence-wise, and then at the end of 2 minutes, just couldn't get out of our own way. Well, I did a poor job of working through it. Tried to continue with cadence just to, force them in the moment to overcome a little bit of a setback in the drive, but we're certainly not there yet. Fortunately, we sent them back with their head coach being emotionally hijacked, which isn't a good thing, okay? So, and I told them that this morning that can't happen. I should have just gone to a different cadence. Let's let us play out the drill. I was obviously frustrated. So, again, we're never too old to learn, right? Keep processing, getting better. And so that's one thing we sent them home with. I said it to the offense. I said it to those guys. I told them that in that moment, what I should have done and what I didn't do. And that, as I've said to them and us, I mean, we're human. I got fired up. I was pissed. And that was awful. That was football. And that is going to get me fired up. And I have to own some of that. Obviously, we haven't coached it well enough. There were other aspects about the 2 minute that got me fired up that obviously was a reflection of coaching. I mean, those things, we're getting plenty of effort. You guys are fighting their rear ends off. We're tough. So we got that. Okay, well, how are we going to do the little things well? And that's coaching. That's me, and that's our staff.
I like what you had talked about, Fred, that he's just upfront. He's going to call it how it is. There was other stuff that he said in that press conference today, too, to where he was like, well, you'll be able to see what I think about these guys. If they play well, they'll move up in the depth chart. And if you don't play well, you will move down in the depth chart, and it'll be a reflection of that. And he was like, it's not even my decision. Like, it'll be clear what they do out there, who the better player is. And that's what we're excited to see, too, with preseason and as we get going with this thing. But I believe he had already mentioned that, like, Denzel and Spencer, like, those are guys that have been taking first-team reps. They deserved those first-team reps, and he's already kind of calling that stuff like how he sees it.
Yeah, he was asked if he announced that to the team. He said no, and that's how he answered. He goes, they'll know. They do good, they go up, they down. And it's like, we don't have to make a big promotion. If you're out there, go, oh, I guess I'm with the first team. So it is kind of a little refreshing that he kind of is a straight shooter on what things are going, and we'll see how things go. but he really wants to get this right on this pre-snap stuff.
I love that. And some people are going to focus on, he said a word we had to beep out, and, he can get into it with guys and things like that. I get after him. He's not afraid to say some things that we wouldn't have heard before. It's not just that for me. It's just that he does not sound like he's reading a script. And Kevin Stefanski always sounded like he was reading a script. So it's good to hear somebody that just sounds like a normal person. And I don't mean that because he said a word we had to beep or because he got angry. You can be in control of your emotions, and you can say words that don't have to get beeped, and at the same time sound like you're not reading a script, and you're just talking to us. And we've had 6 years of a guy sounded like he was reading a teleprompter and was afraid to say anything. And you can't, even if they don't win, the fans are going to like hearing that because he just sounds like a normal guy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I just, I just appreciate that. I think we all do because he sounds like a real person.
And that's just something we don't always get to, right? That's why we have the phrase of coach speak, because a lot of times we just it's not just a Kevin Stefanski thing. It just happens all across in our industry, all across the board, because a lot of times, and I don't blame them, in this age of social media, like you say one thing, it gets misinterpreted, it gets clipped or whatever, and people run with it like wildfire and it gets crazy. So I can understand why it might just be easier to avoid all the drama and not give the media anything. I get that.
You know what it reminds me of? To give you an example, if you get an email from somebody, if you've ever, I would imagine people in corporate positions get this a lot. And you get something and you read it and you're like, oh yeah, this was totally written by ChatGPT. Kevin Stefanski gave the ChatGPT answer all the time.
Yeah.
Todd Monken writes his own stuff.
What a line, Schwab. I like that comparison.
I get what you're saying, Mark. That was I understand what you're trying to get at. That was a Kevin line he said all the time. But, case in point, the quarterback thing, on Saturday, he met with us and said that Shadur's going to get all the reps with the ones. A half hour later, they're on the practice field. Deshaun got all the reps with the ones. And that stuff happens all the time, but because we're in training camp now, we get to see what's going on. As soon as they finish the official training camp, we won't see anything. They can change all day, and we would have no idea. And that's kind of what he was saying, is that I don't have to tell you guys stuff, and that's true. And so now it's kind of back to, it looks like normal with the quarterbacks. The last 2 days, it was all Shadur yesterday, today all Deshaun. So, he's saying we're back to normal. We're still competing. We'll see.
What have you seen? Has anyone in the quarterback competition started to separate themselves?
Well, one of the things with Deshaun, I really think, he was really horrendous early. And the last 3 or 4 days, he was starting to put it together. And he hadn't had padded practices. Shador seemed to have the days of the padded, so that was one of the reasons they flipped it on Saturday, and he had a really good day. So I thought, okay, he's just going to go with, hey, we're going with Watson. But then he comes back and opened it right back to, nope, we're still going, we're not sure. The procedure stuff and all, I put in my story, all the quotes that he says, what's the most important thing is getting everybody lined up, getting everything in order. That screams to me that it'll be Watson, because even if he can't play anymore, he can get them all lined up and get them all set before. And so that's why I think he's leaning that direction. I might be totally wrong, but it seems to me that's where it's heading.
And we don't know who is starting the first preseason game on Saturday, because he said the depth chart will say Deshaun Watson or Shador Sanders, right?
Yeah, he said that it wasn't out when I left, but he looked to the PR guy and said, unless he screwed it up, it's going to say Deshaun Watson or Shador Sanders.
They refuse to even shed a little bit of light into this.
I don't know why, but I would imagine it would be Deshaun starting on Saturday, wouldn't you think?
I haven't made this a true-false question yet, but at some point I'm going to. It's got to be in the next couple of weeks. But I'll be surprised if Deshaun Watson isn't the starter for week 1. Mm-hmm. But we'll see.
Well, this is logical, because I don't think you want to, if you're going to have one of them trot out, why wouldn't you have Shador at home, and at least delay that for another month before, if Deshaun is the starter. If he starts the season, he's got 2 games. If things go bad, they might flip the switch, early.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of the way I think it's heading.
Okay, well, there's your quarterback competition update for the week, everyone. When we get back, we're talking a little defense with Mark Schwab's true-false question of the week. This is Off the Leash. We'll be right back.
Off the Leash continues. True-false question of the week. We did something similar to this a month ago-ish, talking about the NFL's top 100 list. And they're releasing 5 to 10 players a week or so. And last week, they dropped the 30s. Jared Verse was 35th on the list. True-false question. There's only 34 players in the NFL better than Jared Verse.
I already heard you get very passionate about this in the sports office before. Fred, do you want to take the first one?
I'd say false, just because I think he's an ascending player, but I'm not ready to say, we saw with Carson Schlesinger. I mean, he was very good as a rookie, and I think he was 93rd, so I think he's climbing, and I think he might have got moved up some because he was the key mark in the trade with Miles. But I'd say right today, there's a lot of, I think there was a ranking on the edge rushers, and I don't think he was in the top 10. So there's a lot of other positions. Now, he looks really good. I mean, in practice every day, he looks like the real deal. But I would just say right now, I'd say false.
I would go false too. I think, and I don't know why we've gone back and forth on this so much. I don't know why everyone just commended this trade for the Browns. It was like they got the best player. Like this is comparable to Myles Garrett. Like it just seemed so weird that there didn't seem a lot of negative attention from national media when it came to this trade, that this was an incredible move for the Browns, just based on his numbers alone and the fact that he's not a guy that gets a lot of sacks. Now, he could turn out to be this incredible player. I think he still is a great player, but 34, I don't know. Like Fred said, I think he's on the rise, but right now it feels a little generous.
Yeah, to me it's patently false. 34 players. If he's 35th, they're saying there's only 34 better players. That would mean barely one per team. No, I'm sorry. I don't understand this list. At some point, I need to get somebody on from NFL to talk about it.
That's
because
next on the pod. We need to do it.
All right, like a few after Jared Verse was Justin Herbert. Go ahead, call the Chargers right now. Say, we'll give you Verse for her. You will get laughed out the door. I would take Herbert in a second. Joe Burrow is ranked in the 40s. Patrick Mahomes has to be far down there because he got hurt last year. Like, I don't understand what this list is supposed to be. Every year I have this question. If you're going to rank a guy 35th, you are saying there are only 34 players better than him, yet you rank other players after him that there's no one in this universe that they would say Jared Verse is a better player than Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow. It's not happening. So it's false. I don't get it. We talked about it before. You did. We don't understand why people are all of a sudden throwing bouquets at the Browns for trading a guy that gets all the sacks for a guy that almost gets all the sacks. I don't get it. He's a good player. I'm not saying he's bad, Fred. You're right. He looks good. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm saying he's not as good as everyone is commanding us to believe. No, he's not. There's not only 34 players better than him in the NFL.
The quarterback's weighted so much more than any other position. That's why they say it's the most important position in sports.
You had a great question when they traded Miles. If you'd called every team in the league and said, we'll offer you Myles Garrett for your starting quarterback.
I did that. List, in my opinion, it would have been into the mid-20s before somebody would have done it. And these would have been quarterbacks that are either ascending like a rookie or they're at the end of their career. Because you're not calling any team that has what they would say a franchise quarterback and getting, I don't care who it is, Myles Garrett or whatever. Yeah. They're just not doing it.
Not doing it. So I don't know. It goes back to the question I always have with that list. The list makes no sense. But it's revealed every year as this grandiose thing by the NFL. Here's our top 100 players, which is actually a very poor ranking system.
We'll see when, whatever. So we have 30. How far have they gone revealed so far?
I think they're up to 31 or 30.
31. Okay. Well, we'll argue about it again whenever
at this point, I got to think the Browns are done. I don't see anyone they have cracking that top 30.
Yeah, and if so, we'll be discussing it. That's a big topic is how is this defense going to compare to the defense we saw under Jim Schwartz? We did have a chance to hear from defensive coordinator Mike Rutenberg today, so we're going to play a little bit of that for you.
Defense is always obnoxious communication. Loud defenses are great defenses. Soft defenses, that ain't our style. Loud, obnoxious defenses, no matter what we're playing, is of utmost importance. It's not just secondary. It's the linebackers, it's the front. It's a collective 11, and it's coaches and players communicating as well. We all want a competitive-ass football team, right? And nobody wants fights or skirmishes that create penalties in a game, for example. But defensively, I would say all defensive coaches say we live on the edge and we push the envelope as far as it goes. You want guys who are going to go as hard as humanly possible. That's what football's about. That's what life is about. So you want people who are going to go as hard as humanly possible. I mean, you better be able to answer this. Come on, man. Heart, mind, fist, and the ball's oxygen. But really, it's our heart. It's our connection to each other, playing hard for each other and celebrating. And then it's our mind. It's being on our jobs and executing. And then the fist is we're going to choose violence and we're all going to finish at the ball.
Choose violence and the ball is oxygen. It's just like every time you listen to him, you just get hyped. I'm like, I'm ready to go work out. He's such an energetic guy to listen to. And he had brought up some of the little skirmishes at training camp. That's not something we had brought up either. Speaking of Jared Verse, he had a little one he was tangled up in too.
Yeah, I mean, and frankly, Spencer Fano had enough of Verse, and he threw him over, a little scuffle, and Todd Monken cited that as that clinched the starting job. He's like, I'm not condoning fighting, but that's what I want to see, and it's like the worm has turned, and somebody asked, did you put Verse up to that? And he goes, no, I never thought of that, but I didn't, and I'm like, that was good. But this guy here, Rutenberg, I'm ready to run through the wall, standing right in front of him, asking questions, going, yeah, let's go. It's like he's a ball of fire, of energy, and we'll see if it translates. There's some big differences without Myles Garrett and without Jim Schwartz, but I think this defense, could be really good and not as much of a drop-off as you think. They're just had 2 more interceptions. They've had 19. Now, is that the defense is great or the Browns quarterbacks are so bad? We'll find out. But I like the way he emphasized, and they're just running to the ball and making plays and looking good so far.
Obviously, they have to go out and play well. You can win the press conference and lose on Sunday, and nobody cares what you did in the press conference. But it is... For now, this is all he can do is give us updates, and it is fun to hear the guy talk. You mentioned the choose violence, and the ball is oxygen. If you've been on social media at some point, you've probably seen it when somebody makes a bold statement, and a response in the comments might be, why did you wake up this morning and choose violence? And it's essentially saying, man, I think you went too far. This guy's like, no, I am specifically choosing violence. We are leaning into this. Good, get after it. Be entertaining in the presser, but also be entertaining on Sunday between 1 and 4. We can't get to that yet, so we'll just take entertaining press conferences for the time being.
Well, and that's exactly what you want out of a defensive coordinator too.
Yeah.
And this team needs it. They need some fire. They need some explosiveness. They need some energy. They need an edge to them. The Browns have had no edge at all. As a team, they weren't intimidating. They weren't a tough team. Their edge was Myles Garrett, and he's now gone. We need someone that brings that. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more Off the Leash coming up. All right, well, we finally get to see some football, kind of, if you count it as football. First preseason game coming up this Saturday in Chicago. Fred, we'll start with you. What do you hope to see out of this first game?
Well, I just want to see the first team, and see them assembled. Monken said he wants to have them have a series. I hope it's not a 3 and out, because I don't know what that does. But you'd like to see a little bit, maybe see Denzel Boston get a catch, Concepcion, see with the offensive line if they can protect the quarterback. And then obviously you want to see one of these quarterbacks to start looking like a legitimate quarterback.
Mark?
2 things. One, just competence. General competence, as far as breaking the huddle, getting to the line, getting the play off, all that stuff. None of the pre-snap idiocy we've seen before. I want to see Denzel Boston. Maybe I just say the 2 rookie receivers in general, but there's been a lot of buzz with Boston, and sometimes buzz doesn't translate. I want to see if it translates. We always felt like they took 2 receivers. That's smart because both of them probably won't hit, but if you pick 2, you got a shot to get 1. And so, all right, let's see. He's getting a little run right now. Let's see what he can do. He's a big dude. He can use that height to his advantage. It was one of the things he was good at in college, just a big old X. I want to see him out there.
I'm excited to see if anyone separates themselves in the quarterback competition. Like, if it's Deshaun that starts first, how he looks. And that's the thing, too. We don't know how long starters are going to play. Munkin had made it seem like starters are going to play. But again, yeah, is that 3 and out? Or how long are we actually going to see some of these people for? And so I'm excited to see if anyone separates themselves. And then, of course, the receivers. Yeah, like what both of you guys have talked about. There's been so much hype around these guys. And that will be interesting if Denzel Boston does become wide receiver 1 and passes up Jerry Jeudy or something. That's kind of what it looks like at camp. He's had a great camp, but that's also camp. So it'll be interesting to see.
We shall see. That's
camp. I think so far, Concepcion and Boston, and I'll throw Isaiah Bond, they all look the deal. We'll see what it – but they look like they did, coming out of camp in the spring.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
It's good to have football back. And here's the thing. We do this every year with NFL preseason games. You're all excited. It's like, yes, a game. And then you're like 20 minutes into it, and the guys playing are like, oh, we're into the backups. And then the fourth quarter, you're like, I always use the phrase because I heard it from Mike Trevisano. It's a great line. These guys are all going to be driving a Pepsi truck in a month. You know what I mean? But so you get into, you're real excited to get to it, and then you're watching, and you're like, you know what? When do they start to play for keeps?
Right.
But it is good to get a game. I say that every year with the football preseason and the baseball preseason. You're really excited to get there, and you're watching, you're like, this really isn't that good, but it's better than nothing.
At least we have something.
The Hall of Fame game drew better numbers than I think like the Stanley Cup Finals because people are just excited for football.
Well, speaking of the driving a Pepsi truck, hang on. If Taylon Green gets out there with his 4.3 speed in the second half going against these guys that aren't going to be playing,
yes.
I don't think there'll be a 4.3 guy out there, and you might see him go 60, 70 yards, and everybody's going to say, that's the quarterback.
That's the guy. And remember, if he's not getting first-team reps, Shador didn't get him last year as a day 3 quarterback, and they were out to get him.
Conspiracy.
It's all conspiracy.
If there's anything about Cleveland, we love to be dramatic about quarterbacks, right? It's what we live for. First preseason game, Browns at Bears this Saturday at 1 o'clock. We will have a recap of it, plus everything else that's been going on at camp coming up for you next Tuesday. That does it for Off the Leash. I'm Leah Doherty for Mark Schwab and Fred Greetham. We'll see you next week.